Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Friday. Woo! May 10th, 2019. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Oh, man. Yesterday. Holy cow. Ha ha. So, I managed to release two feather ruffling items within 24 hours of each other. And now there is a contingent on the internet that hates me. And there's another contingent of friends who think I'm mad at them or I'm judging them. So here's what we'll do first. First off, to anyone who feels I have targeted them, I am not. Unlike most of the world, or so it would seem via social media, I have the capacity to disagree with an action that you take and not judge you. To my friends, to the people I care about, I still love you, even if you do something I think is dumb or silly. I'm sad that that needs to be said, but it's true. I received quite a bit of feedback from the martial arts radio behind the scenes group for yesterday's episode 395 on dating within the martial arts from a number of people who had met their spouses training. In that episode, I mentioned towards the end that, guess what? You got to do what's right for you. Statistically, it doesn't work out. But marriage also statistically doesn't work out. Plenty of people get married and they're happy. Now, I'm not advocating against marriage. But just because I see something as a poor option doesn't mean I'm not going to be supportive of people who choose to go in their own direction. I do it all the time. I think if we get right down to it, everyone we know does things that we disagree with. We can't write out everyone from our lives just for making a decision that we don't think is best. That would leave us completely alone. And then what do you do for yourself when you do something that you don't even agree with? Because I've done that. I know this isn't the best choice, but I'm going to do it because of ABC. Okay. Now, the other piece, on Wednesday at Martial Journal, we released an interview I did with a gentleman named Bodie Sanders, who is the subject of some controversy. And what I find interesting is that there are a lot of people who want me to fact check an interview. I don't know that they actually want me to fact check an interview, but they're unhappy that I talked to him. We've done a number of interviews at Martial Journal. We write out some questions, we mail them to someone, they mail them back, we post them. It's not an endorsement. It's not taking a side in any stand, any issue. It's asking questions of a person. I find the situation that Bodie in is interesting. That's why I wanted to ask him some questions. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't want to. I'm too busy to care, to be honest. I just thought he would be interesting, and I thought that the readers would find him interesting. And based on the numbers, they have. But what I find most interesting is how difficult it is for people to separate themselves from separate a situation from the way it impacts someone else. So, as I said, no dog in this fight. Almost to the point of not caring. Almost to the point of, I wish I hadn't done it, but not quite. Just because of just the number of comments that I have to reply to. It's a lot of work. I won't edit someone's interview. The stories that people tell are their stories. They have varying degrees of truth. Whether it's an episode of Martial Arts Radio, whether it's an interview in print that I do, I want to hear everyone's stories. Because even if the story is false, there's still wisdom in it. Think about every fairy tale. Those didn't happen, but there's still wisdom there. There's still something that is worth noting, and quite often they're entertaining. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's go on to some viewer questions. What am I doing today? Sitting at my desk for like 14 hours doing work. But we had some viewer questions come in yesterday. Let's answer them. All right, first question. Have you ever been to Asia? No. Excuse me, but I really want to go to Thailand. Because it looks beautiful, and I want to pet an elephant. I'm also interested, potentially, in Vietnam. Really, just Southeast Asia is kind of fascinating to me. I would love to go to Japan. I want to go everywhere. You know, sometimes people ask me these questions. Would you like to go somewhere? Yeah, I want to go everywhere. There are a lot of places in Africa for political reasons I won't go. Wouldn't go to North Korea because I don't feel like spending the rest of my life in prison. I think that's about it. Maybe a couple of the more unsettled places in South America. All right, let's say unsettled politically. Awesome chat today. What do you feel are the most fundamental skills for teaching? Patience, compassion, creativity, and a willingness to think analytically. So let me unpack those. Patience. If you've ever taught people martial arts, you know that most of the time they don't get it right away. And sometimes you have students who really don't get it for a very long time. And it's your role as an instructor to keep finding new and different ways to reach them, hence the creativity. The compassion comes in because sometimes people have limitations. One of the things that I've learned only in the last few years from some early education professionals was how weak and sometimes convoluted the connection between the mind and body is in young children. Which is why some children really excel at martial arts and know left from right and can do all these things. And then other kids look like, and I don't mean this in any kind of sarcastic way, can actually look like they're having a mild grade seizure when they're moving through their movements. That's how the body is constructed for them at that time. And it gets better, but I've certainly been guilty of not having enough compassion and patience, and I've seen other instructors do it too, and it gets frustrating. And then, of course, you know, the kid doesn't love martial arts anymore and leaves and has a bad impression of it, never comes back. And then the fourth thing I said, a willingness to think analytically, because if you're able to unpack what you've just done that was creative and see what worked and didn't, you have something to continue to build on. To start with something simple, to keep adding to things, you end up with a pretty good toolbox. But it requires that thought process, either in the moment or afterwards, to say, hey, this worked out pretty well. Last question. It was, first of all, I've got to know who won between you and the monkey. So yesterday I mentioned that I was in Costa Rica and got in a fight with a monkey. It wasn't a fist fight. Here's a story. So I was walking through a nature preserve, had my camera in my backpack, saw a monkey in a tree. It was the first monkey that I'd seen close enough that I could get a good shot. So I took my backpack off. The monkey, seeing this, assumed I was going to feed him or her. Scrambled down the tree, ran up to me, and stuck his head in the backpack to start searching around. And I reacted in the same way that I would if a dog or a cat or something was doing that, because it was an automatic response. And I went, no. And the monkey looked up at me and pouted and ran up into the tree and turned its back on me. And then proceeded every 5 to 10 seconds to turn, look over his shoulder at me, and then when noticed I was making eye contact, turn back around. And I stood there laughing, and I took a couple pictures because it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Argument might be better than a fight. To describe it as, I got in an argument with a monkey. But saying I got in a fight with a monkey sounds better. I have no problem admitting what actually happened. And it's a funny story. And I really dig it. All right. Hopefully my day goes better. Yeah, we'll see. Yesterday was heavy. What form is the hardest for me to teach and do? I've learned a lot of forms. I've forgotten most of them. The forms that I've spent the most time with are, of course, the easiest to teach. The ones I've spent the least time with are the hardest to teach. I find longer forms harder to teach because people have a limited attention span, limited ability to remember things. This thing has decided to make noise. But I'm going to answer the question in a slightly different way. The forms I find the most difficult to teach are the ones that people don't want to learn. We all know that there are forms that we're excited to learn, forms that we're not. Well, maybe not, because even the forms I dislike, I enjoyed learning. I'm glad I learned them. But when someone's excited to learn, they learn better, and I'm excited to teach them. When someone is not, it's like pulling teeth. It's not a good time. You can't make someone learn something. It's not possible. If someone tries to teach you something that you are unwilling or unready to learn, it's wasting everyone's time. Oh, pardon me. So that's what I'd say about that. I've noticed we have fewer viewers on Friday. It's 3 of you, though, so that's pretty good. Better than last week. I think last week was like 1. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to leave me some comments below so I can answer them on Monday. I'll give you homework in a minute. Remember, we do the show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, here on YouTube. You can catch it later at firstcupwithjeremy.com or in your podcast feed. Wasn't until early afternoon that the podcast feed was out yesterday. I apologize for that. It was a combination of time constraints and then technical difficulties with the conversion software I use. But everything should be good to go. Now, if you want to ask me a question, but you listen later, send me an email or come find the episode on YouTube. We've got 190 something episodes of this show. And so today, as you go through your day, here's my suggestion. Be aware of your judgment of others, your criticism of others, and how strongly you hold to that. Everyone has a different experience in life. Everyone has their own history, their own experiences, the way they were raised, the chemical differences in their brain. And try to remember that if you had their set of experiences and you were born in their body with their brain, you would feel, do, act the exact same way. Because those are the two things that determine the choices people make. Understand that you can have compassion for people and still disagree with them. And that's okay. And they can do, and understand that not everyone's going to be everyone's not going to have as easy a time with that as you. Hopefully. So, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Hope you do something enjoyable, fun, productive, whatever.